13 days of war in Ukraine has turned this beautiful, bustling country into a conflict zone. It's also a country that stands defiant against all odds, fights back in spirit and through all diplomatic, legal ways. Here in India today, we've been getting you stories of how citizens have stepped up now. They've picked up guns to defend their cities that are under shelling from Russian troops. Ukraine is fighting for what it had, for what it could be.
Zaporizhzhia is a city in southeastern Ukraine on the banks of the Dnieper River. As per 2021, the city had a population of 722,713. It is also the site of Ukraine's largest nuclear power plant, now captured by Russian forces. Close to 2 weeks of Russian invasion has forced the inhabitants of the city to flee the war and destruction for safety. But Yulia couldn't. She had to stay back to take care of her ailing mother. But she sent her 11-year-old son on a 1,000-kilometer journey on his own to Slovakia.
My name is Yulia Volodymyrivna Pisechka. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all the Slovak customs officers and the volunteers in Slovakia who cared for my son. They helped him to cross the border on his own.
Zaporizhzhia Oblast, or the district, is known for its heavy industry. But with the Russian invasion, the city and the district now wears the look of a war zone. Kharkiv, in the northeast of Ukraine, was the first capital of the Soviet Socialist Republic of Ukraine. In January 1934, the capital was relocated to Kyiv. During World War II, 4 battles took place for control of Kharkiv. Nearly 1/3 of Kharkiv's population became slave workers for Germans, while 30,000 were executed and nearly 100,000 people starved to death during the Nazi occupation of World War II. Post-war, Kharkiv was rebuilt in the architectural style of Stalinist classicism. In the next 3 decades, Kharkiv became the 3rd largest scientific and industrial center of the former USSR. In independent Ukraine, Kharkiv became the 2nd largest city after Kyiv. Russian tanks and shelling has left deep scars all across the city. Russia has called for a ceasefire in Kharkiv for the time being. On the Dnieper River, the capital city of Ukraine, with a population of 2,962,118, woke up in disbelief to the sound of sirens on 24th of February. This 7th most populous city in Europe has been waiting for Russians since that day. Now the bustling cities of Kyiv are empty. Air raid sirens have become a daily routine. Sirens sound day and night. The atmosphere is tense, and Ukrainian soldiers steer locals away from possible sites of conflict. Civilians started to leave the city, but some stayed back to defend their lives and the city that they loved. Closer to Kyiv airport, Antonov was captured by Russian troops, as was Kherson city in the south. Cities like Mykolaiv, Irpin, Chernihiv, and Vinnytsia have faced the wrath of Russian shelling.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone from the Ukrainian leadership is here. Our troops are here. Citizens are here. All of us here are protecting the independence of our nation. Glory to our defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes.
Нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Ми не пробачимо розстріли.
We will not forgive the shootings of unarmed people, the destruction of our infrastructure. We won't forgive hundreds and hundreds of victims, thousands and thousands of sufferings. And God won't forgive, not today, not tomorrow, never.
Ні завтра, ніколи.
But the war carries on.
Let's take this straight across now to Rajesh Pawar. He's joining us live from Kyiv with all the updates. Rajesh, I want to begin with the news break that came in today of Russia confirming a ceasefire today as well in Kyiv, where you are, as well as several other cities. Ukraine claims that this ceasefire is not being followed. Can you tell us what's happening really? Is that the case? Is the ceasefire being violated?
Look, as far as Kyiv is concerned, there has been no violation of ceasefire. But Ukraine also considers Irpin a part of Kyiv, and there have been heavy fighting going on in Irpin for last few days now, and it did not stop even yesterday. Similarly, about other cities like Kharkiv and all, fighting on the outskirts has been going on, and that is probably what Ukraine thinks is a violation of ceasefire. And also, there's an objection by Ukraine that they are providing a humanitarian corridor leading into Belarus or Russia.
I think we've lost that connection with Rajesh. We're going to attempt to reconnect with him immediately, and we'll try to get him back on the broadcast to tell us what's really happening on the ground. What essentially Rajesh was telling us was about the ceasefire and Ukraine alleging that this ceasefire announcement by Russia is actually, not being followed on the ground. Rajesh is back with us. Rajesh, we lost your connection. Go ahead.
Just give me a second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
There's some kind of music being played here in the Independence Square. If you can hear it, I don't know what does it mean.
We can
Very
hear
loud
it.
music all over Independence Square right now. Can you hear it?
We can hear it.
I don't know what does it symbolize, but it looks some kind of very loud music all over the Independence Square. And I think this is coming from the speakers used for air silence also. But let me tell you, there was a total calm last night, and it has been the third night continuously without any kind of air sirens or any kind of blast or any kind of missiles landing in Kyiv. That I can confirm to you. It snowed in the morning today here, and it's absolutely calm in Kyiv, but on the outskirts, the fighting is going on. Same is the situation with Kharkiv, not shelling or any kind of bombardment on Kharkiv city as such, but on the outskirts, the fighting is.
And essentially saying that I'm at the street called Bankova Street is where Zelenskyy is right now, correct?
Yes, I believe he is still in Kyiv. He has not left Kyiv because Kyiv's defenses are being beefed up, and Kyiv is right now looks like a normal city. Yesterday, people were coming out a little bit. Metros started functioning, buses started functioning, though in a limited way, not all over like in the normal times. But things became a little bit normal here yesterday, and it looked like a peaceful city because there was no bombing, no shelling of the city. And this was the third consecutive night without any kind of bombs or shells or missiles landing on Kyiv. Over to you.
But that's also, Rajesh, you're saying that things are starting to open up quietly. Maybe that's because of the ceasefire. But the reality also, which you've been telling us, is that, you're seeing Russian troops closing in to Kyiv. We're being told they're just about 20 kilometers away from Kyiv right now.
Look, I don't know whether you could get my audio last time or not. I will repeat it once more. There was no fighting in the main Kharkiv city or in Kyiv city or in the other two cities where ceasefire was declared. There was no bombing, no bombardment, no shelling of those cities by the Russian troops. However, the fighting on the outskirts has been going on, be it Kharkiv, be it Kyiv. Irpin is just 20 kilometers from here. There was little reduced fighting yesterday, but fighting is still going on. And as I will repeat this point, I don't know whether you heard me last time or not, Ukraine is blaming Russia that all the humanitarian corridors provided by Russian forces are opening into Belarus and Russia, which they do not want. He says that the Ukrainian government says most of the Ukrainian citizens do not want to go to Belarus or Russia. They want to go to west of Ukraine or towards Central European countries like Poland and Hungary. And Russia should provide safe passage, safe humanitarian corridors which open towards the west and not into Belarus and Russia. Over to you.
Okay, so there was a conversation on that also in the third round of talks that happened yesterday between Ukraine and Russia. Right now, Russia hasn't agreed to that, humanitarian corridor route that Ukraine is insisting on. What I want to talk about also, Rajesh, is the fact that Zelenskyy putting out a video, a selfie video where he showed where he is and then walked around to the corridors of his office. Does that make Kyiv a bigger target then?
Look, it's very important psychologically. The Ukrainians are fighting pitched battles all over Ukraine right now against the Russian forces. It's a much smaller force. It's much less equipped than the Russian army. So for them to be strong right now, this psychological boost is very important. And Zelenskyy being the commander, being the president of the country, it has to send that kind of signal so that the Ukrainian forces can fight on, can stand the onslaught of the Russian forces. And that's what he's exactly doing. He's turning out to be a much better leader than most of the Ukrainian people thought. And he is standing up right now for the forces, for the people. And it's a big morale booster for the troops and for the militia, which are right now facing the onslaught of Russian forces anywhere in Ukraine right now. Over to you.
Is it working internationally, though? Yes, it's a great message that's being sent across to Ukrainians to stand strong, to fight. Globally, is it working in putting any more pressure on Russia? We saw the hearing that happened yesterday, the World Court also, Rajesh. Russia decided not even to turn up for that hearing. Globally, Zelenskyy has been saying, we need more help, we need more help, we need more than sanctions. That's not happening either.
Look, what Zelenskyy is saying is absolutely right. If Ukraine has to stand up to Russia, they need more help, they need more warplanes, they need more equipment, they probably need more forces. As far as the International Court of Justice is concerned, let me tell you, United States of America is also not a signatory to that. And it was one of the presidents who said that no American soldier will ever be tried outside America for anything they do for the defense of their country. And the same, I think, should apply to Russia. I think Russia does not recognize the authority of International Court of Justice, just like America. And I'm not sure, but I think it's also not a signatory to this ICJ. Over to you.
There's also been a lot of allegations being filed by Ukraine here now of Russians and Russian troops particularly targeting civilian settlements. So of the civilian casualties now sizably going up in Ukraine, Rajesh.
Yes, it's a big humanitarian crisis unfolding in Ukraine right now with more than 1 million internally displaced people, almost 500,000 refugees who have gone across to other countries. It is, in true sense, a humanitarian crisis unfolding here. And there have been a lot of civilian casualties. Numbers may be exaggerated from both sides, but for sure there have been a lot of civilian casualties. And old people, homeless people, people who have no one, people who are poor, have really suffered in this war the most. And yes, it's a humanitarian crisis right now in Ukraine.
I just want to tell our viewers also about an update that's come in. Mind you, this is, as Rajesh pointed out, claims versus counter-claims. The Russian side right now is stating that without the participation of Kyiv, we have managed to withdraw 173,000 people from zones of the military operation. And this includes 44,187 children. This is what the Russian Federation maintains, that's how they've helped in the evacuation of innocent civilians. Ukraine saying that more and more residential settlements are being targeted. In Kyiv, Rajesh, you were saying that a lot more people are now out on the streets when compared to a few days ago. Are these people trying to flee from the capital? Have most people left now? How are they leaving? Because we saw extremely disturbing images yesterday from the railway station, which was packed to the brim.
Look, most of the people who are actual residents of Kyiv left about a week back, most of them. And remaining ones left about 3 to 4 days back after the warning from the Russian government that civilians must leave Kyiv because of the impending war. Also, the people, like the family members of the militia, of the military people here, I saw a huge crowd on the main train station here on the Vokzal, seeing off their family members, these military people and the militia people. Now the crowds you see are not actually Kyiv residents. These are the people from nearby villages, from Irpin, and from these areas which are right now witnessing heavy firing, heavy shelling on a day-to-day basis. These are the people who are right now concentrated on the main train station in Kyiv, because that's the main train station which is connected to all the lines going towards the west. And that is the reason we see such scenes on the main train station yesterday. and today and day before yesterday. Over to you.
Rajesh, one final question before I let you go. You know, you've been talking from through this broadcast, running us through what's happening close to Kyiv as well, in cities like Irpin and Bucha, which has been facing the brunt of the Russian attack for the last 24 to 48 hours. What really is the Russian strategy here? Are they planning to run over these cities and then enter into Kyiv? Because, you know, we've been speaking to representatives of Moscow as well, who've been saying that what Russia aims to do is enter Kyiv by the end of this week.
Look, we have to understand one thing. To enter inside the Kyiv, the Russian armed forces, a big convoy we have been talking about for a week now, which was first reported by NASA and the American government, the 62-kilometer-long convoy, which was confirmed by the Russian defense spokesperson that, yes, there's a 32-kilometer-long convoy out on the outskirts of Kyiv in the north direction. See, the towns like Irpin, they lie in the northwest. That is the axis which Russian forces have to open if they want to launch a full-fledged offensive on Kyiv. And for it to be successful and swift, that axis has to be opened. And for doing so, they need to clear Irpin. And Irpin is like, it's a suburb of Kyiv, but it's a heavily populated and with a lot of multi-story buildings. It's quite a big built-up area. And Russian tanks are not entering that. My information is from the military sources here, from the Ukrainian military sources, that Russian tanks are not entering the city, probably fearing to be hit from the apartment buildings or from hidden places with javelin missiles and all. And I believe the javelin missiles have taken a heavy toll of Russian armor. And that's the reason they are not entering inside the city. It's only the infantry which is right now inside Irpin city, and the fighting is going on. And it's the messy battle. I tell you that, like, in a built-up area, it's a nightmare for infantry to fight, because anywhere, snipers can be anywhere in any building and fire can come from anywhere. And it is very difficult to clear a big city like that. Building by building, it takes huge amount of time. And that is the reason the Russian operations are being delayed. And offensive on Kyiv will not be launched till the time Irpin is cleared. Over to you.
All right. Rajesh, appreciate you joining us with all of those inputs. Stay safe out there. We're going to keep reconnecting with you through the day for all the inputs that you have to offer for us. Rajesh Pawar, I'm sure you've seen him for the last many days here on India Today, bravely reporting from the front lines. He's visited several cities across Ukraine to get us a sense of what the situation is on the ground. And he's telling us that right now there's been a relative calm in Kyiv in the last 24 hours or so that's enabled people to step out, buy the supplies, buy the groceries that they need. Many people trying to also leave the city. But the question remains, how long will this calm prevail? Remember that there's a ceasefire that's been declared by Russia yesterday as well as today. What you see on your screens are the 4 cities which have witnessed maximum pounding, maximum shelling, maximum bombing in the last few days. Finally, there seems to be a calm in the area because of the ceasefire that's been announced in 4 cities, in Kyiv, in Chernihiv, in Sumy, as well as in Mariupol. From 12:30 p.m. this afternoon, that's Indian Standard Time, you will see that ceasefire coming to effect to ensure civilians, all others who are stranded there, including Indian nationals, can make their way out. And let's hope and pray that these kind of images aren't seen today in these 4 cities or anywhere in Ukraine. I'm slipping into a short break. We're going to be right back.